Good morning, my creative friends, and welcome to Painting in Your PJs live with Minette. I am Dr. Minette Riordan, and I am in my PJs, messy hair. I've been down in my studio for over an hour already, just puttering, and I am grateful for the time this morning just to putter and put some thought into what I wanted to share with you all today. But first, I wanted to just say welcome if this is your first time stopping by. We have a lot of new subscribers lately. Thank you. It makes me so happy to see more and more people joining this channel, and the more people there are, the more it inspires me to keep going with these live and sometimes recorded videos as well. So what is painting in your PJs? So painting in your PJs is all about using art as a creative practice for mindful self awareness, for personal growth and self discovery. And today, or what do I want to say? So, all month long, I've been doing a series of gratitude pages in an art journal, and I'll continue that practice today. And I have put together a set of 30 prompts. You can find in the description of this video the link to those prompts. Today I'm going to be working with one of our gorgeous sacred circle designs. And let's see, that doesn't look like the right link. And that link is also in the description of the video. Let me get over here and just make sure that I have the right link here for you guys. Should be able to download this design and print it at home or color along or do as you wish with this design. So there we go. That link looks better. Good morning, Barbara. And just happy Thanksgiving to those of you here in the United States. It is my favorite holiday of the year, and I am so grateful for you, Barbara, and others that join live, especially on a holiday. And I've only had one cup of coffee so far, but I'm ready for a second as soon as we're done here. And when I started going through the prompts and trying to decide what prompt to focus on today, the one that really stood out for me was, what's a lesson that you've learned in the second half of life that you're grateful for? As a 58, almost 59-year-old woman, I think about this a lot. What are the lessons I'm grateful for? Some of the lessons have been hard and painful, and some of them have been hard to implement as habits, even though I know they're good for me. So before I started this morning, I was doing some journaling, as I often do. You have no video. Let me go look on YouTube and see if so I am seeing my video on YouTube. So if someone else is everyone seeing me on YouTube? I see there's a few more people live. If you're here live, can you please pop in and let me know if you're seeing the video? So I'm seeing it live on YouTube. Okay, great. Thanks, Julie. Good morning. Happy Thanksgiving, my friend. So what I want to do today is to have you think about something that you're grateful for, a lesson that you've learned in the second half of your life. And the lesson that I'm probably most grateful for is the value of making time for creativity and how much better I feel when I do that. I'm going to go ahead and share my camera here. And even as I was doing, when you went to print, you lost sound. So can you hear me now, Julie? So if you guys can hear me, let me know. I'm hoping all these tech issues are on other people's ends. Thank you, Julie. Grateful for you as well. All right, Barbara, can you hear me? Okay, awesome. Great. So, gotta love technology, and it seems like soon as winter hits. Okay, awesome. We have video, we have sound. Thank you both for being here live. If you're joining live, thank you, thank you. I so appreciate you taking time to do that. And if you're watching the replay, comment replay in the comments below and let me know that you stopped by. It means a lot to let me know that you guys stopped by. And people have been loving this gratitude series. I think this has been my highest watch series all year, and I'm at just about a year of doing Painting in Your PJs Live, which is super exciting. So the lesson that I want to think about being most grateful for is making time for creativity. My husband and I went away this past weekend, and again, you can download these gratitude prompts. You're going to come up and say hello? Come on. So I'm being interrupted by a kitty cat. This is Diego coming to say good morning. I curated this list of gratitude prompts, and you can download them in the description, as well as the link to the what we call sacred circle or mandala design that I'm going to be using today. And where did my mandala design go? There it is. It's under all my stamps. So I have an idea always with the things that, I want to do, and I wonder, go on, buddy, how to get started sometimes, right? Here I am staring at this blank page, and sometimes just getting started can be the hardest part. And so when I think about the lessons that I've learned, about creativity and the value of consistency has so much been about getting over that fear of the blank page. And sometimes getting over that fear can be something as simple as just getting marks down on the page. This does not have to be a complicated process. And it's paper and pencil. And when I stop treating everything as so precious and remember that what I am all about in these morning practices is play and repetition. And repetition and practice and play make me a better artist. But sometimes it's just getting that first mark down that feels the most challenging. So what I'm going to do this morning is to paint a painty background, just have some fun getting some paint on the page. I have printed one of my son Connor's gorgeous sacred circle designs out onto a piece of vellum so that it is slightly transparent, and I have an idea for where I want this to go, and we're going to see if it's going to work or not. I even looked at putting it over some writing would be cool. I already had another painty page, which is what gave me the idea, but I actually want maybe a little more pattern and texture on the page. I am working in a Hanamulla sketch diary. I get this question all the time. I love this book. It's lined on one side, which is great for writing, and blank on the other side, which is fantastic than for art journaling, because for me what's so important is that combination of the writing and the art making, So I've done my writing before I got on the call this morning, and I'm feeling deeply, deeply grateful for this community. I got so many sweet emails yesterday in response to the emails that I sent out. And I am literally just going to start by getting a little bit of color on the page. So this is a burnt sienna. It's one of my favorites. I'm going for some earthy tones today is what felt good. I just sort of randomly picked the colors. I asked myself, what does gratitude feel like? And there felt like richness and abundance, and I love the combination of purple and green. They're not quite complementary colors, but they're close. The green and the burnt sienna would be, what, buddy? Diego wants to just go up and down this morning. Are you coming up? All right. Sit still for a minute, dude. And so I've got just a big wide 1-inch paintbrush, and I'm just going to start getting some color down on the page. I've been really loving working with a brayer lately. I love the texture that it gets on the page, and I'm going to work in really thin layers. Again, we're just going for color, and I also really love those pencil marks underneath. Already we have this kind of fun, messy page started, and I'm going for color and pattern and texture this morning. Let's get a little bit of this dark purple down. And this time I'm going to take a scraper. I love working with any kind of scraper or my catalyst wedge, which is on the table here on my very messy table somewhere, because again, you get these really wonderful, thin, transparent layers. And one of the things that I know I struggled with when I first started working as a mixed media artist was how do you build up the layers of color without it all just turning to mud? And how do I get over my fear of covering things up? Well, you just have to keep practicing is the way to get over the fear. But the way to get these transparent layers where you're seeing the depth and the beauty of all the colors, it's about patience, which is not one of my virtues. And what I mean by patience is that you're waiting for one layer to dry before you're starting in on the next layer. And that can be challenging for me. And so one of the ways that I learn to be more patient when I'm working in an art journal or on canvas and I'm feeling like, oh my gosh, I have the time, I just want to keep going, was to have multiple things to work on at the same time, to have multiple projects on the go at the same time. And sometimes a craft dryer is great because a craft dryer will help me get these layers nice and dry. All right, this is looking pretty groovy. So I do want the whole page to be covered, but I think I want to bring in maybe a little more depth and maybe some grunge in here to this. So I am going to grab some black paint and I'm going to do a little stamping. So this is a handmade stamp. This is a great tip to reuse your makeup sponges. Just cut the ends off so you can reuse them because they get really hard once they're dry. Good morning, Yvonne. Happy Thanksgiving. These are handmade stamps made out of fun foam that I've cut into shapes and then used a ballpoint pen to add the texture to them. I love making my own stamps. If you've been watching me for a while, you know that it's important to me to get my own marks into my art rather than using a lot of purchase stencils. Okay, that was not wet enough. So let's try wetting this up a little bit, getting a little extra paint on there. Sorry, Diego. He's like, I do not like the sprayer. Try that again, get a little more black on there. And I love when I mess up on here as well, right? Because I want you guys to see, good morning, Blanca, happy Thanksgiving. I want people to see that this process is not about perfection. I'm not always here to help you make pretty pages, and I love it when they turn out pretty, but sometimes it's just about how can I learn, experiment, practice. Like there's, lessons in all of this to be learned. All right, I'm going to grab a clean makeup sponge. And I think I'm going to get some of this lavender down on here and start to create some lights and some contrast. So contrast is one of the elements of design that's really important to an overall picture when you're trying to create some depth and when you're wondering why your painting or your art journal page is just kind of blah. It could be because you don't have enough contrast. You don't have enough lights and darks. And so taking a photograph with your phone, converting that photograph to black and white is one great way to check to see if you have enough contrast. And that is something that I learned from my friend Andrea Chebalou from A Work of Heart Studio. I learned so much from her about mixed media painting over the last number of years. So again, I'm just starting to build up some happy, messy texture here. And I even love using the end of the makeup sponge. Use up some of that paint on my palette to continue to make marks. It's amazing how many different shapes you can make with something as simple and inexpensive as a makeup sponge. And now all of a sudden I have this really interesting, highly textured page that's making me happy. And I have to be mindful that it doesn't get too dark in the process as well. And I've been having a lot of fun lately. I did this in my demo video for the Sisterhood of the Traveling Journal as well. You can wipe away color from stencils. Stencils don't always have to be about adding to a piece. They can also be about taking away. And this may be too dry to do this. So I may put some gesso over it and go back again. So yeah, so that's okay, let's try this again, because everything is an experiment. And my gesso is plugged up. Like, this is what it looks like to work in, this is a working studio. This is an experimentation. You're seeing this live. It's not pre-recorded. It's not pretty. It's not perfect. This is my creative process, and I love bringing people in and sharing that process. And people always have a heart attack when I start to paint over things that I put down. But I have to tell you that this has been one of the most amazing learning opportunities for me and so many artists. And it's learning to get detached from outcomes and to be in the joy of the process, right? To just be in the joy of the process. This stencil has so much paint on it. It's definitely time for a good stencil clean. So I love that I'm starting to see here, right? Pattern. I'm bringing back the color from underneath. I'm just using a baby wipe. I'm scrubbing pretty hard because that paint's on there pretty thick. And I just create pattern in a very different way through the stencil. All right, so I'm thinking I may want to bring back some more color, but I'm going to hit this with the dryer real quick. Last time I used my dryer, it flipped the breaker and my power went out. So if I disappear, I'll be right back. But it's Thanksgiving, so I don't think that's going to happen today. This is another secret for not having muddy pages, is making time for things to dry. And I was trying to get myself to use a different, good morning, Judy, happy Thanksgiving, get myself to use a different palette this morning because I can get, caught up in always using the same colors. And so I'm like, okay, what would feel just a little bit different, not my normal sort of blues and golds. And this is the light olive green from Liquitex, and I love this color. I love how I can still see all the layers underneath, so I'm going in over my darks with a brighter color, but it's still a pretty transparent color. So does anybody have like fun plans or giant family events happening today? So there'll be 7 of us here in my house today, which is the biggest Thanksgiving I think of. No, I guess we had a pretty big one at our friend in Santa Fe's last year, but it seems like the last few years, especially during the pandemic, Thanksgiving was, pretty small, and Thanksgiving has always been one of my favorite holidays, and I'm super excited to have my son and his boyfriend coming, and my mom and stepdad coming with a dear family friend. And we're making Indian food. We're not having turkey today, which we found a wonderful Indian market yesterday, my husband and I, and we had so much fun buying a bunch of fresh spices and some Indian drinks and treats. My son and his boyfriend are vegan, so we are having a different type of celebration today, which I'm really excited about. I love Indian food and I love to cook. And tomorrow I will cook a turkey so we can have turkey too because all the food is wonderful. All right, so here's where I have to be. You're going out for Indian food. Awesome. You're cooking at your daughter's. Awesome. It's called Turmeric, Julie. It's over off of Drake and Shields. There's a little shopping center over there. I don't know if you've been in there. Their spice collection was fantastic, and we got some frozen naan to try. And last night I made cranberry chutney, and I took my leftover summer peaches and made a peach chutney as well. So the cooking has already started, and I'm super excited about that. So I'm kind of liking this page. And what did I do? So what I want to do is see what does it look like when we get this down on the page. Then I can look at what am I seeing around, and I'm like, meh, I'm not loving what I'm seeing around the edges, and I think I actually want to go back in maybe with some white over the top of this. And it's definitely maybe going to be a good weekend for some stencil cleaning time. So this ended up looking like I want it to feel a little bit more finished overall, and so I want to decide how do I want to do that. In my head, I want to just like paint the whole thing blue, and I should probably just trust my intuition and see what happens if I put a thin layer of blue over it. If I don't like it, I can bring back my other colors, but I'm feeling like I lost some of my darks, so maybe what I'm really wanting is to bring some of the purple back around the edges. And we'll just continue to let these layers build up till we get to a place where I'm happy with the layers. Normally I put scrap paper underneath the edges because I end up gluing the edges of my journals together. I mean, they do come apart, but definitely ends up getting a little messy. This is a big journal. This is I think it's a 9 by 12. Again, it's a Hahnemühle. It's a German company. I love, love, love these journals. All right, so that's feeling a little bit better. And I'm almost wondering if maybe it just needs some little bit more texture in here. So I'm just using the end of a paintbrush to scratch through there a little bit. And I like the lightness at the top, but I didn't get that paint all the way to the edges. So let's see if we can just do, maybe that's kind of what's bugging me, is it didn't feel complete around the edges. Get those fingers in there. This will be my last chance today to have painty fingers before I gotta go get the house cleaned up. Julie, do you have kids in town that are coming to spend Thanksgiving with you? Or grandbabies? There's always those years where everybody seems to be going lots of different directions. My daughter and her partner were supposed to go to his parents' house, and unfortunately they got COVID, and so they're quarantining in Eugene, Oregon, and she sent me pictures yesterday of these adorable cookies that they made, and turkey cookies, and they're making turkey sandwiches and roast veggies, and we sent them a big bouquet of flowers yesterday so they would have something pretty for their little table. Just you and Mark today. And Barbara, you're going to be 10 at your son's house. Fantastic, isn't it? And sometimes it's nice not to have to host. My mom wanted to host, but her hosting means a lot of work for she and my stepdad. So we're going to host here, and I'm sure they will host for Christmas. So this to me is starting to look like a really interesting page. I'm loving where it's going. I want to bring in some more of this white with the stencil through it. I think that's really interesting to me, and I've got that in the center but not around the edges. And so I'm going to come back in with just a little bit of white and bring some of that texture back. And I love where I've scratched into that wet paint. What happens is you get this really beautiful, beautiful texture that starts to build up. The colors are mixing together. Now I'm getting some really nice grunge that's making me a lot happier. And I think it's all about the just having so much patience, right? Having so much patience with the process and really making sure that you have enough layers, not being afraid to just continue to add paint, add layers, add texture. The other thing I love about working with acrylics is it's really easy, and it just needed that white. It certainly did, is not being afraid to push layers back, right? Like if you have a layer that you really love, then take a picture of it, save it for collage paper later, or cover it over with a layer of matte medium or clear gesso, so you can always push back with baby wipes to that layer below. Get a clean baby wipe here. If you were to ask me what one of my must-haves in my art studio is, it's definitely baby wipes. Baby wipes are an essential part of my practice. All right, so now it feels like I'm starting to, this kind of matches what was happening in the center. Yum, that sounds amazing. Dinner at your son's, they make a barbecue, ham, mashed potatoes. We always had ham and Thanksgiving at my grandmother's growing up. And she had 4 kids, and I think there were, let's see, 4, 6, 8, 10 grandkids, 4 kids and their spouses. That's 18. So, usually there was like 20 of us at my grandmother's house, and it was always potluck. She always made the turkey and the ham, and then everybody else would, contribute their specialties. And I never remember her sitting down for Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner, which was also always at her house. And she was always busy in the kitchen. Okay, so this is like a yummy page to me. This is like a really, really happy page. It's got a little bit of water still on it, so I'm going to get this nice and dry and get my sacred circle design attached on here, and then decide what I'm going to do with that. But I want this to be dry, really dry, before I add it, because I don't want, and it'll probably happen anyway, but I don't want all the paint to get mixed and completely cover up my design, and I want to keep some of the transparency of that vellum. But I really like this page, so what I'm going to do is take a picture of it, because then I can print that page out later, and I can get parts of the page, like if there's getting shadows in there, little bits and pieces, that I like more than others. Now I have different pictures of this, and I can print it out on vellum or other things and have a lot of fun with the using my own art as collage. All right. Let's get this dry. And this Hanamula sketch diary is not, it's just sketch paper. It's not a nice mixed media paper. So I do have to be mindful of, how many layers I'm adding, especially because I did not gesso the page first. All right. So really love, love, love. Oh, it's going to get fuzzy. I was trying to get it closer. Actually, maybe we'll just zoom in. I love all the texture and the colors and the grunge. And there's just a little bit of that early red oxide showing through, but it's just enough, right? There's a little bit here and here. I can always add more. Thank you, Yvonne. I love it too. All right, so I'm going to come in with my matte medium, and it's time to clean off my wedges and scrapers. So actually, let's see, I have a whole bag of old Starbucks gift cards that someone gave me that are used, and I love them, and I want that edge to be nice and clean because I want to get this mandala down on the edge of the page really nice and flat. And my son and I call these sacred circle designs. Mandala is a religious term used in Hindu and Buddhist cultures. It means sacred circle. And our designs are geometric in nature, meant for mindful coloring and relaxation, not for a particular religious or spiritual process. So we call them sacred circles. And we run a monthly membership called Sacred Circles. And through the end of the year, we're having a special on that. You can join for a whole year for $99. All the links are in the description of the video. We have 3 live calls a month where we color, where we talk about different supplies and ways of coloring, and then we have 1 call a month that is a zentangle lesson. I'm a certified zentangle teacher. That's become one of our most popular lessons. So I'm trying to just make sure I get this really flat and that I get it nice, and like I want to be able to see that transparency as well, so I can see where I'm getting different layers of transparency. And I'm going to come in, I'm going to get this nice and dry. So it's funny, in the screen I can see wrinkles that I can't see with my eye. Interesting. And because it's vellum, I'm probably going to end up with some wrinkles, and that's okay. They will disappear. But I'm going to come in over the top of this and add some zentangle patterns, which is my absolutely favorite thing to do. A small group sounds lovely, Blanca. All right. I was grateful for that camera on this screen today. That feels pretty good. So again, I'm going to get this super, super dry, and then I'm going to figure out where to go next. I'm going to clean off that Starbucks card. And now I can also look at what's left. Like I'm noticing that I've got this kind of separation between the purple and the green that I'm not loving. And I'm kind of thinking I want to bring some of that purple back up in here. So I might do that at the very end, or I might let it sit for a day before I decide what to do next. But first I'm going to get this nice and dry. Never use a nice pen over the top of matte medium. It will destroy your pen. Making sure it's not sticky anywhere, super dry. All right. Let me see. I have like 1,022 black pens of all kinds, but one of my absolute favorites is this Uniball Air Micro. It goes over the top of the matte medium very smoothly. I love my microns as well, but it's easy to just destroy the tips when you're working over surfaces like this. So, and the Uniball Air Micro is slightly water soluble when it's wet, but once it's dry, it's permanent. Thank you, Barbara. I'm really, really happy with the background. And now I get to have some fun and decide where I want to go with this. So I'm going to zoom in. And one of the things I've been enjoying, and I want to pull myself back to the gratitude prompt for today, which is, what is a lesson that I've learned in the second half of my life that has been most valuable and useful? Did I say that right? That's the dream one. Yeah, a lesson I've learned that I'm grateful for. And I think that lesson that I've learned is that making time for art is essential as making time for exercise and eating right. And to really believe that and to make this such an important part of my daily practice. And so I'm being, sort of mindful of that. I'm thinking I might even write some things that I'm grateful for in some of the edges or maybe around, I love writing around the bigger circles, but I want to get some pattern in here. And I've been having fun combining zentangle and mark making, right? So just having fun with doodling. Like it doesn't have to be a formal pattern. Once this is dry, I'm probably going to come back, and I won't finish this all today, but I want to come back over the top of all of this with colored pencils in some of the same colors as the background and add another layer. So maybe I will do that tomorrow morning in my next setting because I know the rest of today is going to be busy. But I love layers. Can you tell? So that painty background, the collaged paper, this gorgeous design, and then to come back over the top of all of that with some colored pencil, I think is where I want to go with this. And I want to pull Connor's design out and make it stand out. I love these little pieces in the center. They look like little bitty candles around a wreath. So I'm starting off with just some simple outlining. You can see this is a pretty fat tip, which may or may not work in all of the parts of this design. This is it's like a complication or a combination of simple and complex. There's a lot of small lines and then there's some lovely big spaces as well. One of my favorite Zentangle patterns is Paradox. No, this is not Paradox. I'm forgetting the name of this one. It'll come to me in a minute. And somebody else might see it and recognize it. But it's like these gorgeous woven lines. So I'm going to start just building up some texture and some pattern. It's amazing how much texture and pattern you can create with lines and dots. So not everything has to be dramatic, right? Or like formal patterns. And that matte medium is making that a little shiny on there. So I apologize for the shine. There, that's a little bit better. And this is where that mindfulness piece comes in, where As I start to color in the patterns and the designs, add other patterns and mark making elements, I feel myself slow down. Like the background was big and bold and messy. Bye, Judy. Happy Thanksgiving. Was big and bold and messy and fun. A great way to release emotions, to play. Felt more experimental and celebratory. But when I come in to these little details, then I start to slow down, catch my breath. My brain has to focus. My hands are busy. And again, I don't have a destination in mind here. That all I'm focused on right now is just simply following these lines and letting the lines guide me. Letting each of the spaces of the sacred circle remind me to be grateful for my creative practice, grateful for my community, that's you, grateful for a day to spend with family, and as I've continued to work with Connor's designs, and Connor is my son, he and I run the Sacred Circles membership together. He's 24, super creative guy. I've learned to appreciate white space. As a zentangle artist, I've always loved all the patterns and the filling every little nook and cranny with pattern and design. And I've learned to leave some breathing space in the designs thanks to Connor's designs. So I'm loving these triangles are ending up looking similar to the zentangle pattern Tripoli, which is one of my favorites. So I think I'm going to round off the bottom of those triangles. And it's amazing what you can do just with white paper and a black pen and a little bit of time. So in our Sacred Circles membership, we talk about just 15 minutes a day of putting color on paper, whether it's in a design or a painty background like this one, can really shift your mood, can help you to feel more calm, relaxed, and happy, even if you're already feeling calm, relaxed, and happy. And some of these patterns I'm not going to remember the names of today. And so many of the patterns I've been tangling for 15 years, and so some of the patterns become muscle memory. And I have deep gratitude for all the amazing artists who love to create patterns. My brain doesn't quite work that way with the deconstruction of things, so I'm grateful that others love designing patterns because what I love is the actual tangling. And this one works great in any kind of long oval shape. And it starts by just drawing kind of that elongated oval in the center, then aura-ing, adding aura lines to that oval in the same direction as that oval shape, and then turning the page, and I'm just repeating that pattern with an orb in the center, going the opposite direction. And I love, it's a pattern with a lot of drama. And on a day like today, Thanksgiving, that I know is going to be full and busy, taking out some time for some mindful painting and drawing and journaling is so good for us. And so if this is something that you know you need more of in your life, take a look at our Sacred Circles membership. The link is in the description of this video, and there's a coupon code to bring the price for a whole year down to just $99. It's normally $165. And it's a great value for a year's worth of designs. Good morning, Pearl Ann. Happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for joining. Thanks for stopping by live. And I know a lot of you signed up for our Sisterhood of the Traveling Journal project. And I'm thinking I'm going to get some couple of big sheets of paper out today before dinner, or maybe after dinner. We'll see how the flow goes and what time everyone gets here. It's probably going to be before, because it's going to start snowing this afternoon and my parents are going to want to drive back up the mountain before it gets too late. But I want to get some big sheets of paper out and probably just some colored pencils and some black pens, and I'm going to invite people to write and draw on those sheets of paper some of the things they're grateful for this year. And then I will paint over those big painty papers and turn them into journals. And then I will send everyone, or give everyone, a journal at Christmas time from all the pages that we made together. So I'm super, super excited. And if you don't know what the heck I'm talking about, the Sisterhood of the Traveling Journal project was created by me and three of my business art besties that we've been masterminding together for several years now. Allie Manning from Vintage Page Designs and the Handmade Book Club, Robin Marie Smith, and Andrea Shebelou from A Work of Heart and Watch, Learn, Play. And we created this super fun traveling journal project. Andrea started it and painted two big pieces of paper. Then she sent them on one side, sent them to Robin Marie. She painted the other side. Sent them to Allie, who made them into the most adorable journals, who sent them to me, and I added envelopes and tags and had some fun with mark making. And we each videoed the whole process. And we encourage other people to do this with family or to create your own sisterhood as well. Yeah, I like the really bold, right? Normally I would draw with something much finer, and I'm almost thinking I want to bring something fine in to the next layer. Like it doesn't always have to stay that bold, but I do love that bold. Julie, if you go on my personal Facebook page, there are a couple of links on my personal Facebook page to where you can sign up for it. I don't have that link right here in front of me. And I could email it to you later today as well, because the videos are super fun. It's a great project to do with family. Okay, so let's see. Now I've got nope, that's a 10. I don't want a 10. That's a super fat one. It's so hard to tell the difference between the 10 and the 1 and 2. Oh, you guys can't see that on there. And to figure out which direction the numbers are going. So having them both together has been interesting. So I'm going to come in now and we're going to see what looks different if we use a fine line. And again, we're back to this, feels like a candle flame, maybe because I'm thinking about Thanksgiving dinner and setting a pretty table. Let's see if I can turn. Yeah, it's super glary today with that shiny ink. Sorry about the shine. Not much I can do about it. I'm trying to hold the journal up just a little bit and see if we can get that shine out of there. But I love these, look like candle flames. And so I'm going to just do some inner auras in those candle flames to keep that kind of flame shape. And this is a very funny little shape here. And I'm not sure what to do with it. I think these want to get inked in because I do like the drama of the black. So I'm going to divide that in half. It's interesting, there's actually a half circle shape here. Again, just don't undervalue just little stripes. And I'm thinking these need some little flowers in them here. So do my favorite little variation on henna drum with just a couple of little petals in there. So just a little half circle and just squeeze a few little petals into those little shapes. And I love that, right? So we went from something very geometric here and bold. Aw, thanks, Julie. It's super fun. And I'd be happy to do it with you, my local sister. And we'll probably do some part of it, like some little part of it at the workshop next weekend or in a couple of weeks here at the house too. So what I'm loving is you can see now sort of the difference between the lighter lines and the bolder lines, a little more floral organic shapes after the bold geometric patterns. So I'm just going to keep working my way around the circle. And it's clear this isn't a project. Good morning from Germany. Good morning from Germany. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Nice to have you joining us. So it's clear I'm not going to, finish this project in an hour. And I love an art journal page that takes time, right? Like I'm willing to put the time and the energy into the project. And I can see where by the time I bring the colored pencil in and add color, it's going to meld in beautifully with the background. So this might be a part 1, part 2 project. And we're going to be snowed in tomorrow, I think, and cooking my turkey. So I'll probably come back tomorrow morning. We were traveling the first part of the week, but this is one I'd love to show you that next step of how am I going to finish this off, right? How am I going to finish this off? How do I go? Because what I'm noticing right now is that it feels a little bit disjointed, right? Between this gorgeous sacred circle design and this sort of painty background. And I want the whole page to feel a little more cohesive. So I will work on continuing to add the zentangle patterns to this tonight after everyone leaves, but then tomorrow, oops, and that ink on the, interesting, that ink on the vellum and the matte medium is still damp, and I'm getting a little bit of smearing, and that smearing will all disappear by the time that I add the colored pencil. But I want to be mindful of that, and probably even I could just go in with a little bit of water. So that won't happen here with the micron. So you can see that micron is really permanent, but I'm noticing that this, I've got some wet ink with that Uniball Air Micro. So you can see how much that ink. So I'm probably going to lay a piece of paper down while I'm tangling until that's nice and dry so that I don't continue to smear the ink. I don't care about my hands, but I don't want those gorgeous patterns to get all smeared. So inside my little teardrop shapes here, come back around. I'm just drawing some inner auras because I want to kind of maintain that it looks a little bit like a flame. And then inside the base of these, putting just some little simple petal shapes in there, excuse me, to give this a little bit more of an organic feel. And I love where it's going. And it feels like it has a long way to go. I never know when I start a project how much time it's going to take. And so don't ever feel in a rush with your projects. This is why that gratitude for mindful creativity, that gratitude for lessons learned in the second half of my life is to slow down, to not rush through my projects. I used to feel that urgency, like, oh, I got to sit down and I got to start and finish this all in one setting. Excuse me, and that's just a story that I'm telling myself. And I'm outlining each of the shapes. It's yes, a dryer would definitely help with that over that ink for sure. Thank you, Yvonne. I'm happy with how it's coming along. And I want to continue with something organic here. So I'm thinking I'm going to put some poke leaf, another of my mac and cheese zentangle patterns. And sometimes I'll do like what we do in the Sacred Circles membership, as you know, it could take hours to complete a Sacred Circle design this large, is that what I will do is just work on a quarter of it to figure out what the overall pattern is going to be. And then that allows me to see where I'm going and not get bored also drawing just one pattern over and over again. And I also get mindful of round lines, straight lines, curved lines, squares, triangles. Think about variety and how when you can change up the shapes of things. Sorry about that. My voice has decided to get tired. But you want to look for variety in your shapes, in your patterns, in your designs. All right, we're at the top of the hour. Clearly, I have a long way to go. This is definitely going to be part one of two. Yes, the paper moves and smears. It's so, I do totally understand what you mean. So it's really helpful to just lay that piece of paper over the top so it protects it from smearing. So I will be back tomorrow morning to work on this more for part two at 7 a.m. Mountain Time. I'm going to keep working on the tangling part of it, and then I want to show you how I would use colored pencils to come in and really make this feel like a complete integrated page. Again, if you're just joining us, there's a link to download this Sacred Circle design in the description of the video, as well as a link to our gratitude journaling prompts. Happy Thanksgiving to those in the United States. Have a beautiful rest of your day or evening if you're in Germany or Europe. And as always, thank you for joining me live. Thank you for catching the replay. And thank you for subscribing and being a little part of my growing community. I appreciate you. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Thanks, everybody, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye bye.